Hey guys, thanks for clicking on this video. Today we're going to be talking about the most underrated MCU movie. My name's Jose, I'm going to be your host today, and I'm going to let you know if this was a flick or a flop. So a lot of people will say that Endgame was peak Marvel and that they probably should have just rebooted the whole thing after that. But this is honestly one of those times where I could say Marvel's back, dude. So watching this movie, it honestly feels like it's a lot more grounded, a lot more human, and there's more like heart in it. All the characters did their jobs. You actually like grow attached to some of these characters where in previous Marvel movies you don't really have that same feeling. And that sucks because like then you don't really get those characters that you adore like Iron Man, Captain America, and even like Thor. And then this is kind of one of those movies where yeah, you might need to watch like some of the shows to know what's going on, but even then, like you're kind of doing yourself a favor. The way they put these characters together was honestly the best writing for a while from the MCU. In this movie, it felt like it actually had stakes where things could go wrong and nothing always goes to plan and people could actually die. One gripe that I have with Marvel lately is that they're introducing like magic and time travel and stuff like that, and magic in a way where nothing feels like there's really a consequence to it. And look, if you haven't figured out what movie I'm talking about by now, I'm talking about Thunderbolts, technically the new Avengers. Either one's right. And look, the movie was actually really good. They don't try to force in jokes like they usually try to do in the latest Marvel movies or shows. You know, the parts that were funny were actually funny. One thing that I could appreciate about this movie is that it didn't look like a green screen mess. So whenever they're like filming a character or something like where there's a battle or anything like that, it doesn't feel like they're in a building and there's just a big green screen and you could tell that it's like CGI or something like that. It actually feels like they were on set for this. Okay, I'm actually in this place. I'm not noticing like weird stuff in the background. For the most part, it looked like all the stunts were like real too. Like there was a really awesome opening scene that I guess was an actual stunt that Florence Pugh or Poe. Florence Poe, Florence Poe. Anyway, all the characters that you're watching, some of them come from Marvel TV. So you might want to watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier or Captain America and the Winter Soldier. Either one's right too. So you might need to watch a couple different shows or movies to catch up with who some of these characters are. But honestly, I think it'd be worth it just because of how they mesh these characters together. You know, it just makes more sense and it kind of gives them a little bit more weight for when you're watching the movie. But even if you don't watch the shows or the movies, you'll still be fine because these characters are kind of, you know, explanatory in themselves when you watch them. If you're not really an MCU nerd or someone that doesn't keep up with like comic books, you could still watch this movie and actually enjoy it. And that was one thing that I felt like was missing for a long time, was like they weren't really focused on making necessarily like a good movie with like a good script. It was just like make a good comic book movie, and that's not for everybody, and like it kind of takes away from the genre too. I really have to give it up to the actors because they really did their thing as far as portraying how the characters felt. This story really has a lot of like internal conflicts, and I think they did a really good job in making us go into this story understanding that, especially with the first couple lines that are said in the movie. So I really like how they also wrap things up at the end too. There wasn't really a whole lot of loose ends. You know, most things were resolved and they made you feel good, but it was still a realistic ending too. It wasn't over the top. And what I like too was that these characters, you know, they have their flaws, but they're still choosing to be heroes. These guys really do have like a dark past that they're trying to deal with, and they do a good job in making this redemption arc for them. It's super underrated. A lot of people kind of threw it to the wayside because of, I guess, performance, and it didn't really sell a lot of tickets or whatever. But I saw it. I loved the movie. I think it's one of the best Marvel movies out right now. You know, I watch it all the time. It's definitely rewatchable. Now, for the parents out there that are wondering, can I watch this with my family? Can I watch it with some kids? Let me break it down for you real quick. So there is a little bit of cursing, so some language just to be aware of. There's a lot of poopies in there, you know, probably like 7 or 8. And then there's gonna be a GD, there's gonna be a female dog. So just to be aware, you know, that's gonna come up during the film. And it wasn't necessarily senseless cursing, you know, and it wasn't always necessarily for like a punchline. If it was used like in, you know, the heat of battle or, you know, something's going wrong, things like that. So there is some context to it. It wasn't just like they're throwing it out there. And as far as violence goes, for the most part, you know, it's just like any other MCU movie. But I will say that there was 2 scenes in there where somebody gets shot like point blank in the head. So, but yeah, it happens early in the movie, if that makes you feel any better. And they don't necessarily show like in great detail all the violence and stuff like that, but they do show one kind of close up of somebody, a victim. So yeah, kind of be aware of that. I would definitely recommend watching this with your family. I think they'll love it. I think it was a really good story. It was a good lesson that everybody could take from. The action was awesome. It wasn't boring. It was something that you could watch over and over again. As always, it's always your house, your rules. So, you know, have fun with it. I'm going to go so far as to say that this is a top 10, top 5 even Marvel movie that's come out since Endgame. And I'm going to even say it's top 10 in Marvel just in general. It's not one of those Marvel movies you can skip. Not one of the Marvel movies you should skip. So, Thunderbolts, 8 out of 10. Awesome movie. Definitely rewatchable. Bro, I hate even saying this, but they cooked. Look, this movie's available on streaming services, so go throw it on, get some popcorn, enjoy it. It's definitely a flick. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and leave a comment below. Let me know whether or not you think Marvel's Thunderbolts is the most underrated MCU movie, or let me know what you think the most underrated MCU movie is. And if you guys have any suggestions for what we should review next, let me know in the comments down below. Thanks.